American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here on American Family Radio, on Biz TV, on many other networks, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be here and to serve. And thank you so much. I've gotten some great emails that have been filtered out for me to send along just with some encouragement about the program, about what we're doing. And, you know, one of the things I'm seriously considering, you may remember this if you've followed and been listening to the program for a long time, but I'm going to say it was 3 years ago. May have been 4. But I'm going to say it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I did a survey on my website. And I talked about some things that you want to see more of on the radio program. And, I had maybe 4 different options to select from, to choose, to vote on, I'll say. And I got an overwhelming, it's overwhelming when you think about how the votes were spread out. But one particular category, which was basically don't change anything you're doing, was 67%, if I remember right, in the high 60s. I remember that. And so I didn't. We kind of left things alone. There were some other categories that got a few votes. But I'm thinking about doing that again because one of the things that I must say that I appreciate so much are people that have emailed me and said, we love it when you're taking all these questions because you get so many of our questions answered. But people say to me when I go to the town hall meetings, I'm trying to balance how much I like that with how much I like your commentary or your political rants or whatever you want to call it. And so I guess I'm trying to balance a little bit of that. But it's difficult, and I do get frustrated. And Devin was saying to me, Devin Patrick, our producer, just said to me at the break, he said, this morning, he does a lot of the same things I do in the sense, he's looking more for clips that may be interested to you, things that are going to springboard off of what I might say or springboard me into something I need to address or whatever from a particular politician or whatever. And going through the same kind of detail of going through the news and keeping his ear and eye to the news. And he said, he thinks that I'm the first, or at least I'm the first one that he has seen or heard that has talked about this idea that we have a deal and we still have an American citizen, as Devin put it, which was better than even, I said this American pastor, but, it's an American citizen that they're holding. They're holding an American citizen, and I'm going to say as hostage because I believe they're terrorists, and terrorists don't. There's no act of war here. It's a hostage situation, and we've got a Jimmy Carter regime that really doesn't care much or can't negotiate or do anything with that, or is even trying to. And I think it's pathetic that we didn't see that split screen that I was talking about earlier, where the minute that Secretary Kerry slapping high five, or at least at this point announcing to the press that it looks like we have a deal, that there was a split screen of our American citizen that they're holding walking free. But after all, he was only there proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ, which has a little meaning to this administration or care from this administration. And what are they going to say, this administration? We don't negotiate with terrorists? What do you think you've been doing for the last 2 months? If you have a deal, it's because you've negotiated with terrorists. So what is the reasoning for not seeing that? That was too big of a thing to ask of the Iranian government, that you would release the American citizen to their freedom? Shameful. It's shameful. And I sure hope there's somebody listening that is going to get this to Washington so that other people between now and the end of the day are going to continue to talk about this and pick it up and run with it. And I'm not so sure what's more shameful. Senator Kerry or Secretary Kerry for what he didn't do when he was negotiating with these terrorists? Or the fact that the mainstream media, politicians alike, don't seem to care. 866-300-9298. You're listening to Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. Listen, I know you've got some financial questions. I want to talk to you about it. I want to hear from it. Listen, I got to say this one thing about Obamacare. Now, I guess you all know this, but it really boggles my mind why anybody would go to the website to sign up for Obamacare or health care. It boggles my mind. There is absolutely no security in these sites. And the federal government and the states' governments don't have to tell you when there's been a breach in security. They don't have to tell you. They're under no obligation to tell you that. It's not American Express here. This is the American government. They don't have to tell you anything. And they're not going to tell you when there's a breach. But why you would even sign up? Somebody said to me a couple weeks ago, why don't you go on the website and document how long it's taken you and all the issues. I said, I'm not putting my information on that website. I mean, right now it's a license to steal. So anyway, the state of Vermont comes out and confirms a security breach of their healthcare exchange website. There's a surprise. But at least they've acknowledged it. So people are losing Social Security numbers and things like that. Now, here's the point. So I send this article about the CBS article out on my Facebook page and on Twitter. Twitter is at Financial Issues, by the way. Facebook page is Financial Issues. So I send it out. You can check out the article. It's not anything earth-shattering, but you can read it if you'd like. But I sent it out to make a point that this is only the beginning, folks, that it's going to get worse. I said in my little comment on my Twitter feed was, what bank robber is going to rob the bank while the bank is still under construction? Are you going to rob it then, or are you going to wait until there's some money in there? So all these morons that are breaching the security to get information, they're not even smart thieves, because if they had any sense whatsoever, they'd wait until the thing is up and running and functioning, and there is more, obviously, a whole lot more data in there in order to, get the best they can get, right? I mean, if you're going to rob a bank, wait till the bank's full. You're not going to rob it while it's under construction. So think about this. If the websites are being breached now, can you only imagine the field day that there's going to be someday if it's ever finished? And if you've already put all your information in, there's nothing you can do about it. It's there. You can't take it back. You can't get rid of it. You can't call and say, can you delete my information, please? It's not going to happen. It's there. It's in there. It's permanent. But it's crazy, because if there are people that are whining and moaning about it now and what this is going to be like, can you only imagine what it's going to be like? We're not even seeing the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, 866-300-9298. Let me go to Maureen. Maureen calling us from Louisiana. Hey, Maureen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
My question is, my husband had rolled over a small pension plan when he left the company with a friend of his who had a financial company, like a financial investment company. Mm-hmm. And then the market started tanking, and he rolled over $10,000 out of his TSP program, with where he's at now. The man was a good friend of his, owned a financial investment company. Well, he sent us statements for the first couple of years, and it looked like we were making lots of money. Then we find out last year that he's being investigated by our state's financial people and also the FBI for financial fraud. Mm-hmm. Well, the man ended up committing suicide last year. Mm-hmm. And before they could press charges on him. And basically the FBI and the state financial people have said, oh, well, too bad. You're not going to get your money. And we were wondering if there was any way we could write that $20,000 that we lost up on our taxes or recoup it somehow.
Yeah, you can write it off. It is a loss to you, and it is an acceptable write-off for loss. But here's the thing. When you are writing off losses, you can only write off $3,000 a year. So you can't write off the entire $20,000 at once. So you're going to have to peck away at it for many years to be able to use up the losses. So what's going to happen is when you do your taxes this year, yes, record the loss as an investment loss. Record that $20,000.
Right.
Whoever does your taxes, or if you do it yourself, like on a TurboTax, it's going to allow you to use $3,000 of that, and it's going to carry the other $17,000 over. And next year, it'll be in there, and then you do another $3,000, and so on and so forth. So you can't take the whole $20,000, but yes, it is a loss to you, and you can use it.
Okay, would I do it under like capital loss or something like that?
Yeah, you're going to do it under investment loss. It's going to be under investment losses, yes.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Have a great day. Thank you, Maureen. You're listening to American Family Radio Financial Issues. Folks, when you have an investment loss, you always can write it off, but you can only get $3,000 of it. 866-300-9298. Let me go to Betty. Betty's calling us from Mississippi. Hey, Betty. Betty?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Betty.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate your program and you and your stand for what is right and for Christ. I have several questions for you. One, the first one is in 1987 and 1984 about Series E and I government bonds. Those have been in the bank forever, but I'm wondering, because of the state of our government, should I cash those in, or what should I do with them?
Are they? Did you say they were I bonds?
There are several that are I bonds, and then the rest are E bonds.
Okay, so the E bonds, if they've fully matured. Now, here's how E bonds work. They earn interest for 30 years. So let's say you bought a $100 E bond for $50, and after a certain period of time, they're worth $100. But even beyond that, they continue to earn. They continue to earn income for up through 30 years. Then they stop. They don't earn anything. Now, if you're concerned about the state of the government, then it wouldn't matter whether they're mature or not. You might want to sell out of them. I don't know that I would do that. I especially wouldn't do it with the I bonds. The I bonds. So an I bond typically works in that I standing for inflation. Is they're somewhat inflation protected, meaning that your rate of return when inflation starts to set in should increase and go up. Now, the federal government would have to be willing to declare some sort of bankruptcy in order for those bonds to become worthless. Now, could they decrease in value? Yeah, the I bonds especially could decrease in value. The E bonds, once they're mature. But all bonds can decrease in value, but not too likely. So I would just say this to you, Betty. I don't think that you're going to move that money if you want to stay relatively safe. I don't think you're going to move that money and do better from a safe, interest-bearing kind of thing. If you moved it from the E bonds or the I bonds over to a money market account or a CD, you're going to be at the same risk. In other words, if the government gets to the point where it collapses, where those things would be worthless, so are your money in your banks not going to be protected either. So there's not a whole lot of places to run. Now, you could take it out and say, I'm just going to put it in the stock market. I'm going to buy, a particular stock, and I'm just going to forget about it. But then you have the risk of the market. So, having said all that, I'd probably leave it. I'd probably leave it alone, at least until it hits that 30-year mark. Then I would cash them out.
At 30 years, cash them out.
Yes, once you hit that, because now you're not earning anything, and you need to get rid of them.
My second question is: I have annuities. I'm in my 70s. My income is certainly fixed, and one source of my income has gone down. So my monthly budget is a little bit more than what is coming in, and I'm trying to conserve what I can. But in these annuities. I do draw from one. I have two others that will mature in 2015, and I think the other one is 2020. But what do I do with these? Just draw as I need them?
Well, I mean, you can do two things, Betty. One is you could move one of them into a charitable gift annuity. I would suggest, though, you do that sooner rather than later, because the younger you are when you do that at this point, since you're already 70, the better off you're going to be in the sense that you're going to have more years to live and more years to receive from an income standpoint, most or if not all that money back. But it's one way to secure income that you're not going to be worried about the volatility of the market on. So that would be one option. The other option is you're going to either have to roll it back into another annuity, which I probably would not recommend, depending on, all your circumstances, which I obviously don't know all your circumstances, but probably wouldn't recommend. Or you're going to withdraw it and move it over into cash and start withdrawing a certain amount of that for income to supplement your income every month as you need it. Mm-hmm. So it would be one or the other. So I think that things could change dramatically by the time they mature. I mean, in the next 6 months, things could change significantly, and I might have a different answer on that. So I would definitely check back with me. And if you're thinking about turning it into income, then I think you ought to call the AFA Foundation and ask them about that. And you'll hear the number here shortly. Got to run right up against a break. Financial Issues, 866-300-9298. We'll be right back.